Hey everybody, happy Sunday. It's July 24th. It's supposed to be 100 degrees outside right now. It feels pretty darn good. Right now, I want to say welcome to Hot Rods and Horsepower, where we talk about all kinds of cars. I am not going to stop doing this video because I have done it. There it is. I've done it so many times, and I'm just not going to stop at this point. What you're looking at right now is the photos, and it should say it in the title too. 1980 Ferrari Pinin concept car. I'm going to be reading from reading from a book called Concept Cars, okay, by Richard Drudge. It's like the book is from like 2012. Some of the language might be outdated because they may have already came out with some cars with even bigger technology. But just listen up. Really cool read, really cool car to be honest, especially a car for 1980. Here we go. While some car makers churn out one concept car after another, Ferrari has never built one itself, or at least not in his house. Okay? It says couch builders such as Burton and Pininfarina create visions of what Ferrari could build. Okay? The results in concepts such as Burton's 308 GT Rainbow of 1976, along with Pininfarina's Roses of 2000. Much more interesting, however, was the Pinin. All right, they're saying this car is one of the most interesting. Um, Unveiled by Pininfarina at the 1980 Turin Salon to celebrate Pininfarina's 15th birthday. All right, 15th birthday, isn't that nice? Okay, going on. While the fact While the fact that this concept car was built as a Ferrari was interesting enough, it was especially fascinating that it was a four-door sedan. Until this point, Ferrari had never put into production anything so mundane as a sedan car, although it had done several four-seater or 2+2 coupes, such as the 330 GT and 365 GTC/4. But then, of course, this was no ordinary four-door sedan. Besides, why should the idea of building a sedan be so crazy, even for a supercar maker? Many years later, Porsche strayed from its natural habitat to build an off-roader, as did Maserati. However, in more than 6 decades of car production, Ferrari still has never offered anything so mundane, such as a four-door sedan, in its production line, although its FF station wagon of 2011 was more prosaic on paper than anything it had built before. Now, I think just to get off the read, I think I've already seen the four-door sedan. And yeah, all right, moving on. If Ferrari had ever been tempted to build a car for families, the Pinin would surely have been deserving of a prancing horse badge. This was one cutting-edge car when it was first shown in 1980. While performance was the order of the day, thanks to a 5-liter flat 12 engine up front, there was also luxury. Okay, so far Ferrari has stayed with two doors, but with Porsche and Aston Martin both building four-door sedans and Lamborghini having displayed a four-seater sedan concept that could be put into production. All right, maybe it's only a matter of time. One thing about this, a lot of these shots I don't see, which I do have, is the actual dashboard of the car. I don't see it inside Alright, I'm going to read on. It does have a cool dashboard. I mean, I'm going to keep it real. For 1980. Mechanically, there was little to excite where the Pinin was concerned. The 12-cylinder engine of the ultra-fast 512 Boxer was mounted up front. Okay, so the motor was mounted up front, while the rest of the running gear, including the suspension and transmission, were also taken from the fastest car produced by Ferrari at the time. And its eye-catching exterior design details were far more innovative, with the front and rear lights featuring, okay, because you got to remember this is 1980. They didn't start doing those lights until like the early 90s, I think. Going on. Its eye-catching exterior its eye-catching exterior design details were far more innovative, with front lights and rear lights featuring the latest technologies up front. The headlights incorporated multi-reflector to produce a much brighter light at night. Until now, most headlights were almost as tall as they were wide. However, the Pinin, much lower, sleeker, lighting was possible, which kicked out more light than conventional rivals. Meanwhile, the rear lights were also much brighter than usual, yet when they weren't illuminated, it was hard to tell that they were light units at all. All right, so that's a picture of the lights. That is pretty cool how they kind of blended them in to the car. Now they have cutout bumpers for the tailpipe, so that really look hot. The interior looked just as high as the exterior thanks to the extensive use of the LED instrumentation. Okay, so they started using LEDs back then. Now you can't get a car without LEDs. As a result, until the engine was fired up, the display will remain gloss black, at which point they'd light up like a Christmas tree. So as soon as you start the car, the whole dashboard lights up like a Christmas tree. But they have it's an LED display inside the car. A computer provided information on fuel consumption, isn't that cool, in 1980, average speed and distance, and countdown in miles, and time of pre-programmed destination. Now that is hard to believe, but if that's what they say, that's what they say. It was 1980. This was a concept car, and that's what they have that's the technology they have in cars now. There was plenty of luxury too. Rear seat passengers got a telephone. Okay, so 2 of the rear seat passengers had a telephone. That's really cool. And their own radio, complete with headsets, while climate control ensured the cabin temperature could be maintained regardless of how hot or cold it was outside. Okay, moving on. It says the key about the Pinin was its configuration. At the first four-door sedan to carry Ferrari's badges, design faced a challenge in incorporating traditional Ferrari styling cues along with its was intended to be a concept that looked forward instead of back. As such, aside Ferrari's familiar egg crate grille, there was little to give away that the fact that this car wore those hollowed, prancing horse badges. Okay. The only other obvious Ferrari reference was the choice of wheels. The 5-spoke alloys offered a nod to Ferrari's production cars, but for Pinin, there was a twist. Literally, each spoke was twisted to turn into a badge, which was eye-catching while also being functional because the blades fed cooling air to the brake discs. So because this motor was huge, you know, so yeah, they designed it back then for the blades to let the brake discs get air. It's good stopping power. The most striking thing about the car, however, was its flush glazing. It would be another few years before Audi famously introduced its ultra slippery 100 sedan with an advertising campaign constructed around the fact that it featured a drag coefficient of just 0.30. To accurate the Pinin's slippery shape, the glass was heavily tinted so that the pillars could be disguised. It was meant to look as though there was one continuous sheet of glass all around. Meanwhile, the windshield wipers were hidden when not in use, a common design trick nowadays, but something that was unheard of when the car was unveiled in 1980. 1980 is a cool year, don't you think? It's the year I was born, so. Alright, at a glance, front mounted, I would love to turn this around so that my viewers can see the car itself. I don't know what it just did, folks. I have no idea. But I tried to turn the... It took a picture. Okay, I tried to turn it around. It didn't happen. So sorry about that. I'm going to keep going on because I don't want to mess up. I wish I could show you the interior, but I'm pretty sure they have the interior in... Interior. Here we go. There we go. So that's the interior of this car. I wanted to see it myself on the internet opposed to a little book, but the book has. So that's the interior. So that piece underneath the clutch, or the shifter rather, that would have been probably where you're reading a lot of the functionalities of the car. But also, yeah, you could see it right there on the dashboard too. That was actually another reader, so I don't really know the functionality of the car, but that's pretty cool stuff for 1980, you know. I'd love to drive this car right now if I could. Check out, what is that? Is that a sound system? That's not the same car. That's not the same car. That is not the same car. We're looking at this car. Okay, going on. I know that because I have the car in my book. All right, going on, and then I'm gonna be done with this. Okay, it says country of manufactured, Italy. Engine, front-mounted, normal aspirated, gas V12. Displacement 301 cubic inch. Power 360 base horsepower. Torque 330 pounds per foot. Drivetrain 5-speed. Okay, it's a 5-speed manual transmission. Okay, manual, nice. This must be a real fun car to drive. Rear wheel drive. Yes, real fun to drive this one. Okay, moving on. Suspension, front suspension. Double wishbones with coil springs. Old school, you know. Rear suspension. I never even checked to see if my microphone was on. That's horrible. Rear suspension, double wishbone, ventilated disc brakes all around, weighs and measurements, the wheelbase, and so on and so forth. The height was 52 inches, 0 to 62 in 6 seconds. Top speed 180 miles per hour. Isn't that pretty cool, huh? So thank you for listening. I hope that this worked. I hope this video worked, and I don't have to do it for a 5th time. God bless you, thank you, and consistently look at this channel because I'm updating all the time, trying to grow it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Peace.